take that team over. And that's what feels like is happening. Not saying Freddie Freeman's gone or anything like that, but Ronald Acuna is obviously the next man up when that decision is made for Freeman. So to see him really not only come into his own this year with that, but with his skill level at times really sometimes being the only thing this team really had to carry them
to
compete in games and really get them going. And, throughout the weekend too, throughout the past week or so, I felt really good about some of the things I've seen from the Braves. And, we talked a lot the past week or two about momentum and about where we stand. And you felt like it was really getting to a good moment where you're almost back to 500 and about to go over that hill and hopefully go over the top coming into the second half of the season. And just an absolute gut punch to not only have him go down with an injury, but like you said, this injury. I mean, this is one that's obviously going to keep you out for about a year, no matter how you slice it. We've seen incredible recoveries. People come through incredible recoveries and maybe.
But it's not going to happen this year.
Exactly. Like you can accelerate it, but not that much to get him back this year. That
and if anything,
the most disappointing part.
If anything, we've seen with Mike Soroka, don't rush it. Take as much time as you need. It's not worth it trying to get him back 2 or 3 months early so he can play 40 games for you.
Yeah.
Let him heal. Let him take as much time as he needs to get that knee back. But Cam, I've been thinking over the weekend, just in terms of Atlanta sports, I can't think of a more significant injury in the last 15 or so years. I mean, I go back to Michael Vick getting injured and being out and how significant that was for the Atlanta Falcons. But in terms of Atlanta sports since then, I can't think of a guy who was the superstar on a team, carried a team, and had that kind of injury where you just completely change, I think, the trajectory of a team season.
Yeah, it sucked. Saturday when I seen the injury, I said they won, but at what cost? They lost their best player, and immediately I said the season's done. I don't think they'll make the playoffs without him. He's been kind of carrying the team for half of this season, a lot of part of this season, and it sucks. Any type of injury sucks, but this one right here, some players do not recover back from this. They don't come back the same, but hopefully, a speedy recovery and everything like that. But we haven't seen an injury like this as far as Atlanta sports. You are right. It's probably been a very long time, probably Vic. So just, prayers and hopefully he gets better.
You talk about how painful it is too. I mean, I wouldn't put it up there exactly with this because I don't think the Hawks were going to win the finals by any means. But you have two of these injuries so close to each other with Trae Young just a few weeks ago, obviously being the leader of that Atlanta Hawks team in the Eastern Conference Finals, feeling really good about the team and really pushing back against the Bucks, possibly going to the NBA Finals, and to have that injury where he steps on the ref's foot. Not saying it's the same level,
right,
but to have this back-to-back with two young stars in Atlanta, this hurts, man. It does.
It's been a tough week for Georgia sports fans, really. Ronald Acuna, at the time of his injury, 5th in the majors in home runs, 4th in stolen bases, 3rd in WAR, and 4th in wins above replacement. So, I mean, it's a huge loss for the Atlanta Braves, but I guess that bears the question now. What do you do if you're Alex Anthopoulos, Brian Snitker, and that Atlanta Braves front office? Is it pack it in the rest of the season, see what happens with the roster that you have? I think when you look at it, and as rough as this week has been, obviously the injury to Acuna, you lose that final game in the Marlins series right there, but you do win that series. At the All-Star break, you're 4 games back in your division. And as much as you've had injury setbacks with Soroka re-tearing the Achilles, Acuna obviously going down. Now Ian Anderson is having to have his shoulder looked at. You just had to put Mueller on a 60-day IL. You've had injuries, but you're 4 games back. And Huascar Ynoa should be coming back soon. And he was an all-star level pitcher for you before he had a bad outing and broke a knuckle.
Yeah.
Punching an inanimate object in the dugout. So, I mean, you're not that far away wins-wise. But I think the biggest question right now Braves fans are thinking is, are you trading Freddie Freeman? I think the answer is positively no. I don't think you're going to get, because it's one of those desperation things, right? With the Julio Jones trade, when you looked at that and people said when he came on undisputed with Shannon Sharp and said, nah, man, I'm out of there. That hurt the Falcons' ability to trade him for what they wanted to get. Now you see Ronald Acuna go down, and all of a sudden the Atlanta Braves start fielding phone calls around Freddie Freeman. People know they're not going to give you top prospects for Freddie Freeman right now. Do you deserve them? Absolutely. But you're not going to get a team's top prospects for a 3-month rental on Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
So do you just sit back and say, okay, we've gotten better, it seems like. Dansby Swanson's coming around a little bit. Freddie Freeman has rounded into form. Ozzie Albies is an all-star. So we still have 2 all-stars at first and second base. Dansby Swanson's getting better. Austin Riley has really picked it up. The outfield is a minor league outfield right now. I mean, it is. But are you sitting there and saying, we hold on to Freddie Freeman, we hold on to our 2 all-stars, hope the pitching staff can hold on, and then add a bat or 2? Or do you say it's time to sell Charlie Morton? It's time to sell Drew Smyly. It's time to sell Freddie Freeman and just get as much as you can, because probably going in the first 2 months of next season, you're not going to have Ronald Acuna.
Very true. But
I mean, this is the conversations they're hopefully having right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, I think the only decision you really have right now is to play it out, is to keep it going, and hope that the guys that are left can rally up and keep getting better, keep building that momentum, and keep getting better as the season goes on. I think that's really your only option, because as you just explained, teams across the league are kind of licking their chops right now, saying, man, we can get this guy and this guy and this guy from the Braves for not what they would have sold them for, obviously, or traded them for, obviously, a few weeks ago. So I think with only being a few games back, with being this close to being 500, and having the team around Acuna getting better, even with him going down, having them getting better, you have to hope that continues to happen going into the second half of the year, because, like you said, you just kind of painted this situation where it'd be tough to maybe, if you can get a good deal for 1 or 2 guys, you go ahead and you grab that deal, you grab a bat, you grab some help. But other than that, unless it's a steal or unless it's a very good deal for you, I do not agree with just selling everybody out. Getting as much as you can, even though it probably wouldn't be as good as you could get before Acuna went down. So yeah, I think you just got to ride it out, man, and hope for the best, and hope this momentum keeps on building throughout the second half of the season, especially when you're this close. That's my thing. Well, when you're this close to the lead, you're starting to get better. Now, if it was trending in the other direction, if the Braves were 7-8 games back and obviously getting worse, then that's when you go out and you do whatever you need.
You come out of the All-Star break, first game on Friday, and you host the Tampa Bay Rays, who are 53-37, very good baseball team.
Yeah,
and then you host the Padres. So you have a 6-game homestand. And I think, Cam, that'll probably be your deciding factor, because you have a July 30th trade deadline. Mm-hmm. You come out of those 6 games and you're double digits out of first place in your division with no hope of the offense turning it around, and you're down multiple starting pitchers. All right, maybe it's time to start selling some guys. But if you come out of those 6 games and you're 2 games back, I think that's a much tougher decision for Alex Anthopoulos.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with PJ. I think you just keep it rolling. If it's not affecting the salary cap, just keep your guys and keep it pushing for this year and see what you do next year as far as making changes. But in this 6-game stretch, if they could go 3-3, that's a success. In my opinion, you're playing some of the best teams in baseball, if not the 2 or 3 best teams in baseball this next 6-game stretch. 3-3 would be a success. Evaluate yourself during the before the trade deadline, which is July 30th, like you said, and see what you got and just roll with the team that you have. You're not far from the division lead. You're 4 games behind. If you could crack that to 2 games behind by July 30th, you're fine.
That also depends on how they feel about the team right now, right? They might look at the team and might not be seeing the same things we do, right? And they might be seeing something different than me and Cam, and say, all right, that basically their confidence level, if it's not as high as ours in them continuing to be able to do this, maybe they do start pulling the trigger. So like you said, it's those meetings that they have to have right now. But coming out of the All-Star break, we're going to get a lot of answers in those couple series, no doubt.
It's fascinating. I think when you look at public perception, trading Freddie Freeman now, if you just want your fan base to completely turn on the team and turn off the TV for the rest of the year, that's what you do. If you want to sell him, unless something absurd gets offered to you, right, where you get a really good player that's already under contract, right, and you can pull some prospects, or you can just scrape the top prospects from a team that feels like they have to win now. If you can pull something like that, I think you answer the phone. But I seriously doubt there are any teams out there right now who are willing to give up that much, especially when they know the situation that the Braves are in right now. So you're not in an advantageous position to trade Freddie Freeman. I guess my point is, in public perception, I think it would be better for the Braves to get to the end of the season and have Freddie Freeman walk and turn down the Braves than to trade him for less than what he's worth. Because in the public's eye, Freddie Freeman walking away from the franchise is different than the franchise getting rid of Freddie Freeman.
Yep. I think you're kind of attached at the hip with Freddie Freeman right now. I think if you were going to trade him, that should have been like 2 weeks ago. You were struggling in some series. You need a little bit. The talks started coming out. Are they going to do it? Are they not? Acuna was still healthy. And now, like you said, now if they do it, it's straight up. All right, if you want to completely turn your fan base and completely, get away from all confidence in the team, this is when you do it. But obviously you don't want that. Yeah. I think right now they're kind of attached at the hip with Freddie for at least the rest of the season. Now, maybe some of those other guys we'll see, but I think in the Freeman situation, it's pretty much a done deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see these next couple of weeks. Again, those first two series out of the All-Star break, I think are going to be your deciding factor for the fate of a lot of Atlanta Braves going forward. Because I think there's some pieces on this team that playoff contenders would love to have on their team, especially if they can get them for the right price. But if you're Alex Anthopoulos, you have to pull the right price too. And I'll say this for Brian Snitker and Alex Anthopoulos, they're not the ones that set the budget when it comes to Freddie Freeman. Yeah. So just keep that in the back of your minds when it comes down to if Freddie Freeman stays, trying to extend him. They're not the ones who set the budget on that. Also, to BJ's point, are you willing to tie up Freddie Freeman in a 6-7 year deal and not be able to go out and get some frontline starters right now? Because right now your best starter is Charlie Morton, and my man's starting to creep up towards the big 4-0. Yeah. So that's where you're at right now if you're the Atlanta Braves. A lot of important decisions coming, but the reality is you're 4 games back from making it to the playoffs.
Yep.
So I think those after the All-Star break, recoup, let the guys kind of absorb the fact they lost their leader, get back out there, and if you can take 4 out of 6 to start those 2 series and you're right there in the division, I think you keep going. I'm with you guys on that. We got to take a quick break, though. We'll come back. Interesting extra time period between Italy and England. PJ Zuko, huge fan of penalty kicks. I'm really not. So we'll come back and talk about what are the best overtimes in sports and what needs to be changed. I think there's some surprising opinions on this. Also, ESPN.com put out their list of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. Some local quarterbacks notably left off the list. We'll dive into all that when we come back next right here on Second Down. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. PJ, congratulations over the weekend. Your Italian side winning their first European championship since the 60s, yeah?
Yeah, of course.
And tying Germany for the most ever international tournament wins by a country. I think it was 6 total now.
Absolutely. Some spaghetti, meatball sub, tiramisu to finish off the night.
Tearing it up at the Zuko household.
It's coming to Rome.
Well, just in my opinion, it's a sham.
Well, they went out and they got it done the way that the rules dictate. They went out and they did
For those of you who didn't watch, England scored in the 2nd minute of this game. And then Italy scored, I believe, in the 68th minute. So there was over an hour in which there was no action in the game. But then it goes to extra. So England didn't score a goal for the next 118 minutes after they scored their first one, right? And so the rules in soccer, you play 2 45-minute halves, you play 2 15-minute extra times, and then if you're still no winner by then, you go to penalty kicks.
Yeah.
Cam, how do you feel about penalty kicks in soccer?
I need to get more in depth with soccer. Let's put it like that.
There's probably a lot of people out there who are sharing the same opinion on that. I can't stand them. And this is from someone who follows soccer at international level, big Atlanta United, member of the Atlanta United Founders Club. I got the scarf and everything. But I cannot stand, like, in the run of play, if somebody gets fouled in the box, I understand penalty kicks. It's like hockey, right? I can't stand the fact that you take a game where men or women are running for 6-7 miles, doing incredible feats of athleticism, straining their bodies, like doing sprints for like marathon distances, and then you take it down to we're just kicking from a dead stop.
Yeah.
There's some other ones that we're going to dive into here in a second, but I want to start with this one because I can't stand it. I can't stand overtimes where you completely change the sport into another sport.
And on that side of things, I completely understand like where you're coming from, although I don't agree. And just to, I mean, yeah, basically same credentials as you with soccer. That's the interesting thing about this is that two totally different opinions here on penalty kicks. But yeah, I played, I've watched soccer for forever, have favorite soccer teams, not only in the MLS Premier Leagues, member of the American Outlaws. So I mean, I'm right there with you on all that stuff. With the passions for soccer, but in my opinion, yes, you are changing it, and yes, you are making it a microcosm of the game itself.
Not even a microcosm.
Really, you're not. Yeah, really, you're changing it into a different game.
You're mutating it.
My argument is maybe you elongate the 2 halves you have in overtime. In extra time, excuse me. Maybe you elongate that a little bit.
I'm not trying to fix all the overtimes here. I'm more just wanting to complain on this one.
I mean, my thing is like you had your chance.
Yeah.
You had, like you said, England didn't score for 118 minutes after they scored their first goal because they parked the bus and just played defense the whole time.
But how much of that is because they know, like, I'm not going to.
They know it's going.
Yeah, they know it's going to penalties. They say, I'm not going to open myself up to a counterattack by attacking because I know that I have penalties locked up. Like the last 8 minutes of every extra time are just the teams kind of kicking the ball around because they know penalties are coming up. Versus if you go into it knowing somebody's got to score.
Yeah.
I think that opens it up a little bit. Ben wrote in, he said, there's no difference in soccer penalty kicks in the ball game than there is in college football, making you go for 2 points after 3 tries after you score a touchdown. Ben, let's get to college football overtime because I know everyone's a big fan of it, and I'm not saying I like the NFL's overtime either. Everyone's saying they're a big fan of college football's overtime. Can't stand it. You completely changed the sport. What's the, in your mind, what's the biggest factor in a football game? Like overarching factor.
Yeah, field position.
Field positions.
Internal.
Field position to me is literally number 1 in a football game.
Yeah.
Like that's why having good special teams is so huge because you can flip the field, right? You can change it. If you have a good defense, you're making them go a full 80 instead of 50 or 60 yards, right? I cannot stand starting at the 25 and just giving points away. You're just guaranteeing points. Now, I mean, unless you have like an Alabama kicker from days past where it's like it's a really, really sketchy situation when you have to send the field goal kicker out there with the game on the line, right? I mean, if Georgia knows how to call a correct coverage on 2nd and 26, you feel very comfortable you're going to win that game because Alabama doesn't have a good kicker. So beyond that, though, most competent kickers can hit, what is that, a 42-yard field goal?
Yeah.
If you don't get any yardage, most competent kickers are hitting a 42-yard field goal, so you're giving away points. If you want to do it that way and you want to eliminate kicking from the game, have them start on their own 40. Because at least you have to pick up 2 or 3 first downs before you start thinking about scoring.
I get it. I think they get it the closest. I would say maybe you don't start it on their own 40. Maybe you start it on the opposing team's 40 or 35. Because that, with me, with college football, even starting on the 25, you're right. You still are within field goal range, but you also can't lose any yardage. It makes you call the game in a way that, of course, you want to pick up those yards, but you can't have any risky, crazy plays or anything like that that's going to lose you 10 yards and get you out of field goal range. But I think you're still playing that position. You're still playing that field position card to a certain extent. I will admit that I love college football overtime rules, and it's purely based on nostalgia and excitement. And so I'll defend it, but only for those reasons. In a logical sense, I agree with you. In a logical sense, I do agree with you.
Is it cool? Sure. But you take it from college football and you turn it into arena football. My own fans' excitement, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I want to see it every single time. Cam, it becomes arena football. It's not football anymore. It's arena football.
Yeah, overtime in college football is arcadish. It's arcadish at that point. I don't necessarily like it. I remember a few years ago, I think 2018, Texas A&M and LSU went to like 1,000 overtimes.
Yeah.
And that game was like 70. They went to overtime 31-31. And it's 74-72. That's ridiculous in itself because they're starting at the 25. Everybody scored.
Listen, arena football is fun, man.
Why are we complaining about this?
And also
I don't see any problems.
You know the other bad thing about this? Those stats count.
Yeah.
Those stats are amazing. So when you have like Kellen Mond out there saying, yeah, man, Texas A&M's all-time leader in passing touchdowns, but you had 7 overtimes against that where you were going to score every single time.
Well, if his defense would have gotten a stop, he wouldn't have had all those stats, but they couldn't.
It's lame.
It is what it is.
So
I will say the one thing I'll complain about with college football overtimes, and you guys might disagree with this, is the going for 2. Because, I mean, you already got in the, like, I think the going for 2 is forcing it a little bit too much. But, if you're going to have it, if you're going to do it that way.
People hate kickers.
Just do it.
I don't get it. Kickers are a huge part of the game.
Oh, absolutely. They're a huge part of the game. Yes. They always get disrespected.
But it's like when people say they want to get rid of kickoffs because they're dangerous. And I get they are a very dangerous part of the game. I think they've done a good job by taking some of the things out of it, like wedges and stuff like that, and protecting the players, right? But you completely change the game if you get rid of kicking, right? Yep. Where it's okay, if we want to punt, then you just move the field position 40 yards and you set the ball down and now it's their ball, right? You get rid of punting. You completely change the game if you get rid of kicking. Yeah. But overtime, to me, you get rid of kicking, right? Like you said, after 2 overtimes, what is it now? Is it after 3 overtimes you just go, or is it 2? After 2 overtimes, you just go for 2 repeatedly.
Yeah, no, I think that's ridiculous. Yeah. I think that part's ridiculous, but I agree with you that, there should be more, probably that there should be more of a challenge to getting to the end zone in overtime.
I think you should just play another quarter. No scores, none of that. Play another quarter because I think football has changed enough to where, sure, in the early 2000s, if a game was 9-9 in the SEC West between Mississippi State and Arkansas, and it was 9-9. I get it. I get why you want to put those teams with their anemic offenses in scoring position, right? I get it. But now college football has changed to where everybody can score. Everybody's gone to the spread. Everybody can score, right? Play another quarter.
Right. The logical side of my mind, like I said, is agreeing with you. I think
play
the NFL,
7 minutes. Play 7 minutes. Play 8 minutes. Play something like that. But the NFL, I hate too because
really,
you score once and it's over.
Yeah, I hate NFL. NFL is worse, in my opinion. It's worse.
But what happens when you have 2 really good offenses, right? And you're just not going to give one team the chance? It's going to come down to a coin flip?
Well, it's not coming down to a coin flip. It's coming down whether you can stop them on defense or not.
But if you had 2 great offenses going back and forth.
Is a big part, is the game. It's the game of football.
But if you have Aaron Rodgers playing Tom Brady and Tom Brady marches his team down the field like he's supposed to because he's Tom Brady and scores a touchdown, you're not going to give Aaron Rodgers a chance to touch.
So you want to see them?
We had Mahomes and Brady do that a couple of years ago. That's what I'm saying.
That's y'all's only problem, though. Because I mean, I was going to. You said let's just have them play another quarter. So in my mind, I was like, well, that's what the NFL does.
No, but NFL is walk-offs. If you score a touchdown, it's over.
Yeah. Mahomes and
know
Brady
that-
that happened.
Yeah, I know at the end of the day, you guys are feeling some pain from that anyway. I'm not going to bring up the score or anything.
We
but
hate extra time in Atlanta,
Yeah.
in Georgia.
I get that part for
We
sure.
You didn't
hate
have to do that.
Unless
Yeah,
this is
you
one
didn't have to
it
say
was
that.
cool.
Well, I think what we found here is no one gets it perfect, but
I just think you keep playing your
there's some
sport
people
until
that are
somebody
closer than
wins.
others. I agree with that to it.
Or if it's a regular season
perfect
game,
world, I
the
agree
only
with that.
time this matters, and for whatever reason we don't like this, whatever reason, regular season ties are fine.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about player health, if it's 30-30 at the end of a regular season game, ties are fine. You know what it means if it's 30-30? You were both equally as good that day.
I don't like that, but I'll agree with you. My problem, though, is in championship games and things like that, like going back to it, like we had this weekend with soccer, we'd still be playing.
I disagree, though.
man.
I disagree
Or
because,
they'd be
what happens?
falling
No,
out on
what
the-
does a,
on
what
the
does a
field.
football team do if it's 30-30 and you know you have overtime coming?
Yeah, you
like,
just
you-
you kneel the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, if you get the ball on your own 20 and there's 2 minutes left in the game and you know the 25-yard line thing's coming up, they hand the ball off 3 times, run the clock out, and go to overtime because they don't want to give the other team a chance to score
Right.
in those last 2 minutes, right? So it completely changes the game when you know that you're going to have these penalty kick or 25-yard line opportunities. I think in soccer, if you go to extra time and even if you just play 2 more 15-minute periods, but you know that there's no penalties after that, it'll just be another 15-minute period. I think that completely opens up the game because, like you said, England just sat back at the end and weren't gonna do their best and not let Italy score, which you saw how that worked out for them. You score once early
Right.
and then you stop attacking and you lose the game, or the match. Excuse me, you lose the match.
You got it. The fixture.
The fixture. Nah, is that a fixture or was it a match? Championship match?
I think aren't those interchangeable?
I think
thought
fixture
those-
is like a regular season fixture. I don't know.
I'll have to look that up. My bad.
I don't know what the nomenclature is on that one.
Yeah, that's my fault. I should have stopped with the lingo.
Cam, do some research
I
on that one for us.
felt good about it, but yeah.
There
Anyway,
you go. Anyway, the overtime rules in most sports are pretty terrible right now. I mean, tennis, you know what? You just keep playing.
yeah. Now I'll say
Golf, you just keep playing.
I don't watch a lot of tennis, but I respect the hell out of like. You remember,
Basketball.
I think like 8-9 years ago they were playing for
Has
like
there ever been overtime in
12 hours?
NASCAR?
overtime in NASCAR. Yeah, they have that. Yeah,
What?
it's green, white, checkered. It's literally my show.
How does overtime work?
So it's
Like do people tie in NASCAR?
oh no. So overtime in NASCAR is due to the fact they made a decision about 15 years ago.
Oh yeah, to change the
That they
points
would
and
not-
laps led.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
well, they would not finish the race under caution anymore because people were getting bored with that. I mean, you had a lot of races come down to it, 3 laps to go. There's a caution, and you end up finishing the race under caution. People want to see the race go on to the checkered flag, race it back to the flag, right? So you have green, white, checkered going into quote unquote overtime, and if a caution comes out on the last lap, it will finish under caution. They'll race back to the line. But there is technically an overtime. They will add on extra laps to the race to make sure it
Yeah,
finishes.
it
under
ain't no drag racing
yeah,
for a quarter mile.
that's very. They tried to do some messy stuff a few years ago, and 2 or 3 times, and they got rid of that real quick because
Yeah.
it made the fans
Yeah,
mad. So,
exactly. Now, other fans of sports need to take note from NASCAR fans and rise up against their sports and say change the overtime.
I don't know, man. Things are interchangeable and relative. I don't know if for every
Revolt.
sport that works. That's all I'm saying.
Revolt.
That's how NASCAR was made. So that's only right.
This pretty much just comes down to second 26 and 28-3. It's basically where my hatred for these overtime rules come from,
Are you an England fan?
and
Is
that's
that
where
what
we're at.
that?
No, not even a little
Okay,
bit.
all right.
Not
cool.
even a little
I
bit.
just had to make
Look,
sure of
PJ,
that.
I'm not like Cam. I'm not one of these Georgia football, Kansas basketball, LA Lakers fans, right? I root for teams that I actually have reasons to root for, right? Georgia fan, Braves fan, Falcons fan, Hawks fan, USA Soccer fan, tortured USA Soccer fan. I know we're never going to
Very
be good.
much so. Yeah.
I know we're never going to be good. You basically have to host a World Cup now for us to be able to play in it, right? I get it. So yeah, no, I am not an England fan.
Well, if you were, that's all I'm saying. Because if I saw like a hashtag, it's coming home or something like that over the weekend, when I went to your Twitter profile here in a second, we would have had more questions about like just sports fandom.
Just Bruce Springsteen gifts all day.
Absolutely.
That's all I
Can't
got
wait.
for you.
I'm still going there.
Yeah,
though.
we got to take a quick break though. We'll come back. ESPN.com ranked their top 10 quarterbacks. They surveyed 50 different coaches and executives throughout the NFL to determine the top 10. We'll dive into it when we come back next right here on Second Down. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by The Uniform Source. Christian Gokel alongside PJ Zuko and Cam Urshry. Glad you're hanging out with us on this Monday afternoon. Got a big show coming up on 3 and Out later today. Home team Brandon Leak from 680 The Fan going to hop on with us to discuss the significance of that Ronald Acuna injury. Also going to catch up with Jamie Bradford from the JB and Goldwater show. Talk a little South Carolina football with him. Shane Beamer getting ready for his first ever SEC Media Days as the head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks. We get the latest from Columbia there with Jamie Bradford. But guys, ESPN.com over the weekend put out their top 10 quarterbacks for 2021. And I think that's an important note, is top 10 quarterbacks for 2021. Not top 10 quarterbacks you'd want to build your franchise around, not top 10 fantasy quarterbacks. For 2021, if you want to win the most football games, here's the top 10 quarterbacks. Care to hazard a guess who's not on that list, Cam?
Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan.
Wow.
Guys like Kyler Murray made the list. Matt Ryan did not. I mean, PJ, you're looking at it right now. Does anything stick out to you? I know you're looking for your guy Ben Roethlisberger. He's not on there.
No, I'm not. I was actually looking to make sure he wasn't on there, but the one that surprises me the most is I guess 9 and 10 there at Justin Herbert and Kyler Murray. I know both were really, really good in 2020, but I mean, it just, I'm not even a huge Atlanta sports fan or anything like that, but from the outsider's perspective looking in, Matt Ryan is constantly disrespected, and I completely agree with this situation right now.
Let's say it out loud.
He should be on that list.
Let's say it out loud. Again,
he shouldn't be 3 or 4, but he should absolutely be on that list.
Again, we're not talking about projecting futures and which guy you'd want to build your team around, right? But are you legitimately looking at it? Let's go through the top 10 real quick. It's Mahomes, obviously the top, Rodgers, Brady, Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, and Kyler Murray. If you want to say the first 8 over Matt Ryan, that you would feel comfortable with those guys, more comfortable with those guys winning this year, okay. I mean, maybe. But I think if it's like a one-off fantasy draft situation, this is just my heart of hearts. If you ask Sean McVay, if you could have one guy for this season to try to win a Super Bowl, Matt Stafford or Matt Ryan?
Yeah, no, I'd take Matt Ryan.
I think he's taking Matt Ryan.
Yeah. Even if Stafford's still in Detroit, he's not up there. He's not 6. But now that he's in LA, it's a different story. Right. But no, I think if you take that same thing, Matt Ryan all day.
I mean, Cam, Justin Herbert, Chargers, same situation. You want to win a championship out there in I guess no longer San Diego,
right?
Los Angeles,
San Diego.
Yeah, the Chargers. If you want to win a championship with the Chargers, and you have one season to do it, you taking Justin Herbert this year or Matt Ryan? I mean.
Bro, you take it. You take it. No, you're not crazy. You're taking Matt Ryan. This is the past 3 seasons. He's thrown 87 touchdowns, 32 interceptions. That's crazy. How is he not a top 10 quarterback? And the Kyler Murray, I mean, I like Kyler Murray, but he's still unproven. He hasn't even put together a really good season for a full season. I would put Matt Ryan on Arizona, and they're a playoff team. They're a contender. If you put Matt Ryan on Arizona, I don't get the disrespect. I guess because he plays for Atlanta and we don't have Julio anymore. I don't get it.
But again, I think if you're talking about ranking the top 10 quarterbacks, you don't do it based on their team. You do it based off the quarterback himself, right? You do it in a vacuum, and you say, how good is this quarterback, right? I mean, obviously every quarterback isn't going to be as productive if they lose their number 1 receiver, right? But that's not taking away from that quarterback's ability. Right? Tom Brady, his last couple of years in New England, was playing with like a lacrosse player and 3 non-drafted free agents at wide receiver. And, you saw how it went that last season where he's throwing a pick 6 in his walk-off against the Titans, right? Well, all of a sudden you give him Antonio Brown and Mike Evans and Leonard Fournette, an amazing offensive line and a really good defense. Yeah, he's a Super Bowl champ. It's a team sport, right? But I'm looking at his top 10 list, and I'm thinking, there's no way in hell 3 or maybe 4 of the head coaches for these quarterbacks wouldn't immediately take Matt Ryan over their guy for this year.
Who's number 6?
Yeah, who's Matt Stafford? 6.
I said 3, maybe 4. I mean, so you have obviously the top 4 guys want their guys. Mahomes, Rodgers, Brady, Wilson, right? But after that, I think it's a legitimate question.
Yes.
Yeah, even Josh Allen, yeah.
I think Josh Allen's a legitimate question. Has he been really good? Absolutely. Has he had a really good team? Yeah. Dak Prescott.
Oh no. He's top 10.
Dak Prescott
He's
is number
7.
7.
Yeah. He's above
That's so
Lamar
dis.
Jackson.
That's so
So,
disrespectful. I'm
I
sorry.
think
That's
I think
some of
disrespectful.
those are really surprising.
Harbaugh's keeping Lamar. I mean, that's MVP versus MVP. Harbaugh's
Absolutely.
keeping Lamar, right? But just again, this is just for this season. This isn't a projection out towards the future. I just think it's hilarious, but I kind of love it too.
I think it's questionable all around. Even if you look at 9 and 10, you just talk about that. I mean, I'm surprised Herbert's above Murray in the first place. But yeah, no, I'm completely right there with you. I think really, now that I'm really staring at anywhere between 5 and 10, you could argue Matt Ryan, because like how much do you really believe in Josh Allen, Matt Stafford? Although I do believe he is disrespected a lot by a lot of
I think
different
Stafford's
people
top 10 for sure.
because of where he's played at and where he's been. I think we'll see more of that this year with him playing a lot better with the people around him. But again, it's about the quarterback itself, not about the team. I think very surprised to see Prescott at 7, even though I respect what he's able to do. I would expect to see.
Do we
Lamar
know
Jackson
what he's able to
higher
do?
than
Because
that.
we still haven't seen him post injury, right?
That's true.
Is
That's
Deshaun?
true.
I know he's not playing this year. Is Deshaun Watson on his
They
list?
did say, to be fair, Jeremy Fowler said if Deshaun Watson was
Okay.
playing this year, he'd be top 10, but it's seeming less and less likely that Deshaun Watson is going to play football this year.
I just had to check because I'm like, okay, if you don't have this dude on your top 10, this is not credible then.
Yeah, that
Definitely.
looking less and less likely we'll see Watson play football this year, but I thought that was pretty fascinating because, like BJ says, words mean things.
Yeah.
And so when you start projecting out, like, yeah, Matt Ryan may be retired in 2 or 3 years. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about who would you rather have to try to lead your team to a championship in 2021. Apparently, most NFL executives, or the 50 or so league executives and coaches that ESPN spoke to, would rather have Justin Herbert or Kyler Murray. I think the best way to do it, in my opinion, is do it in a vacuum. Which team gets more wins in 2021? The Falcons with Matt Ryan or the Falcons with Kyler Murray?
Yep.
Matt Ryan. Yeah.
That's it. Matt Ryan, easily.
Completely agreed.
So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I thought that was pretty interesting, though. You can see the full list on ESPN Plus. We got to take a quick break, though. We'll come back. Final segment of Second Down next. Second Down on ESPN Radio, presented to you by the Uniform Source. Big show coming up here on 3 and Out just after 3 o'clock. Again, we'll catch up with home team Brandon Leak from 680 The Fan to discuss the Ronald Acuna Jr. news. Also going to catch up with Jamie Bradford from JB and Goldwater, talk a little South Carolina football and his look at SEC Media Days as Shane Beamer heading into his first year as the head coach for the South Carolina Gamecocks. Georgia fans might remember him. I think he on the 2017 Rose Bowl championship team, the team that fell just short to Alabama in the national championship. He was an assistant on that team, then went to Oklahoma, and now the head coach at South Carolina. So we'll catch up with Jamie Bradford, talk Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks. I think, Cam, they may be one of those teams. I'm not saying they're going to be competing with Georgia to win the SEC East, but I do think they're one of those teams that might surprise some folks and be competing for that third spot, maybe behind Kentucky and Florida.
I can see that happening. So who do you have at the second spot then?
I think it's Florida. I think Florida is getting vastly underrated heading into this year. I think Emory Jones is going to be really good. I think they have some studs coming back on defense. Kyer Elam was a All-American. They have Brenton Cox on the defensive line. I think Florida is going to be really good. I mean, PJ, we had Phil Steele on last week, had Florida rated as the number 24 team in the country.
Yeah, no,
I think it's ridiculous.
That's a bit low. I would agree with you there. It's you're getting risky when you're saying you're disagreeing with Phil Steele, but I think that's one place I'm pretty safe to. And looking forward to hearing about some South Carolina news. Then again, let me check my watch. Yeah, it's about that time for everyone to be overrating South Carolina a little bit.
Wow.
Have that little bit, and then week 4 or 5 comes around. Okay. Kind of off the radar.
You have
I'm just saying
the
it happens
SEC's
every
leading
year.
returning. Might have been college football's leading rusher last year.
He's a monster.
And Kevin Harris from Bradwell Institute.
I'm not disrespecting him at all.
Listen, South Carolina's got some legs to build on there, and they've done a really good job on the recruiting trail. So, again, we'll catch up with Jamie Bradford coming up. We appreciate everyone hanging out with us today. If you miss any portion of the show, check it out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We will talk to everyone tomorrow.